So, couple things on the agenda. Ooh, I have new Easter eggs. I always have Easter eggs. I wish I would have been in a better place yesterday to talk about it. I just feel like if I would have, it just wouldn't have been helpful. Maybe it would have been helpful. So I do think like some of the times when I've come on and I've like openly and honestly expressed to you guys like my feelings of even things like sorrow and anger, that it has been helpful in a way. I don't know, maybe not. But I think I'm not saying I'm past that. I just want to have a little bit more representation of um how can I say this? I want to demonstrate via my own actions and my own life and situations how I deal with things. And it's definitely not instant. Like I know a lot of other people come on here and they are like perfectly groomed and they're perfectly put together and they're coming up with these monologues, these video essays. So it just really it gives you this image of like we're all perfect, blah 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 blah. But you guys live in the same world, society, okay, that like I live in, and you see things as they are. Like things are not it. If you are literally on the internet all day believing in your true heart after you see all the shit that's happening in society, and you truly are sitting there believing like we are in the best place we've ever been. Everything is great. I think you're delusional. I think it's time for you to actually go touch some grass, to go out. I'm also not saying like it's doomsday, like everybody's awful, and both extremes are not where I stand. They're not where I've ever stood. This is why I continue to come on here as a moderate perspective and just speak my piece. Okay, I can only give you my my perspective. My perspective. And 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 my perspective has a little bit more to do with the fact that um how can I say this in a way that might make some sense? Hmm. My perspective is that we need a little bit more representation of moderate black girls, okay? And I feel like this is another reason I like writing. Like I write for myself, okay? And like one of the reasons I started releasing music was just so that I could look back at it and be like, oh wow, this is how I personally was feeling on this particular day at this particular time. It was like to kind of focus on capturing a moment just because I felt like I could and I wanted to like flex that muscle. Now, another part of this is realizing that like everybody doesn't have that muscle to flex and everyone doesn't have the like mental clarity to be able to vocalize and describe like a coherent thought from start to finish. That's kind of what I'm starting to understand being a really good writer is, like what it means. And that's pretty major actually. That's major. Um and I want to say I want to say um hmm how can I say this? I saw two things today that were a little bit like one was it wasn't reassuring. It was reassuring because I knew that it was happening, but it was just saddening because I knew it was happening. So the first video is a video by I guess Destiny. And I didn't actually realize this. So Destiny is in Nigeria, which is wonderful. I didn't even I knew that she was like an African woman, but I thought she was an African woman just living in America making content. She's actually an African woman living in Nigeria making content. This is great. And so what she does is she stitches together these videos of I guess they're like TikTok responses, like how do you say, like TikTok remixes that other women are making. And so there's a black woman who got on and she says like, I don't know what black men are thinking. I don't know what black men are thinking, but the disrespect of black women has to stop. If you think that we are going to, not call the police when you abuse us, when you disrespect us, you're mistaken. We're gonna either put you on a T-shirt and watch you go into the ground. And so all these other black women start remixing this, but they remix it and they're giving story times of like all of these times that like black men have harmed them. And it wasn't like emotional abuse. This is like physical abuse. One man ran over a woman with his car and then he gets out of the car, proceeds to like chase her down to try to like actually beat her up. Another woman had her husband strangle her in front of her 2-year-old child. Another woman had her husband he like continuously he was beating her up all of the time. She asked him to stop, he wouldn't stop. And then so she finally gets up the courage to even call the police. So like her story time is her like building up the courage to like actually call the cops in the first place. Um Man, like all of it just felt, it was really sad. It was really sad because it it comes back to my other video that I made where I'm like, actually, marriage and relationships are dangerous for black and brown women. And I'm not saying that to be funny, I'm saying that to be honest. Because for black women specifically, I don't know why, but like society has been conditioned in a way where, like, when bad things happen to black women, nobody cries except like other black women. But everyone else has normalized the violence toward us. Like violence, hypersexualization, poverty, death, even brutalization, domestic violence, torture. These things have been playing in American cinema, on TV shows, everyone else in this society. American society has a real demonic undertone that I think a lot of people don't pick up on because they have normalized it too. And the reason why everyone continues to call Gen Z woke is because they're actually seeing both sides of this story. So they're seeing like post civil rights and pre civil rights exposed as like American history at the exact same time. And that's something that none of us ever got. And I think they're pushing back against all of it. They're pushing back against the wokeness. They're also pushing back against the conservatism. Like I don't think I think when people are saying that Gen Z is going more conservative, I think they might be talking about like sexual conservatism. But I think in terms of like political ideologies, they seem to have a problem with everything, and I kind of understand it because I've been feeling that way for a while too. It's you don't really there's actually no party really to like agree with. All of the parties seem to have their faults. Like if you're a person who's literally like a climate change denier, for instance, then how do you describe what's going on in Hawaii? Okay. Also, if you're a person who's talking about foreign affairs, and you're a person who's like a supporter of Iraq, how do you talk? Or I'm sorry, Ukraine, right? So didn't we give Ukraine $2 billion or something? But it doesn't look like we've given Hawaii anything. Hawaii is in America. There's like a lot of Hawaiian people who are like dead right now. They've lost their homes. Okay. What's happening? It doesn't even seem like Biden, who is a Democrat, it has gone to like I feel like I just saw a video of him riding a bicycle on a beach. That was like yesterday. So I don't think this has really anything to do with like red or blue, but I think it does have a lot more to do with uh, maybe it's identity politics, or maybe it's just kind of like opening your fucking eyes and just like seeing what's going on. Because things aren't really as they seem. Um, man, man, oh man. And then I saw another video that was by Matt Walsh, where there are these black teenagers on a train, and there's an Asian family sitting across from them. I don't know what triggered this, but it looks like it was a group of young black girls. They're on a train, and they just start yelling at the Asian couple. They're like, "Go home, go back to where you came from." And then I'm not sure. I didn't watch the whole video all the way through, but I think obviously there are two Asian parents. These are like adults, and then there are like some minors. I think their children were like 10 or 11. So these are like kids. Like I think that's like middle school or elementary school or something. So to have like some high schoolers yelling at some middle schoolers and their parents like go home, that's weird as fuck. Like I can't really explain the absurdity in that. But also I just really wonder why would those, first of all, like those black girls don't know where that Asian family is from. They could be from America, they could be from China or the Philippines or some other Asian country. They could also just be from like New York or like Tennessee or something. Like you really don't know. Like a person could be born wherever the hell they're born. But in these girls' minds though, or in their, maybe not just in their minds, in their lived experience, people who are riding the subway in New York aren't Asian, I guess. Like being an Asian person on a subway is like not a normal thing that you see every day. And so I think that these girls probably do ride the subway every day. Um, so for them to be exposed to, I guess, an Asian family riding a train is like just so shocking that they just started yelling things. I mean, I also give them like a little bit of space, and this is why I continue to say like the black rap girls are just, they're bad for society because like the high schoolers, it's not just like the little black girls either, it's the white girls, all of them, all the little, like the high school kids nowadays are watching Euphoria. They're watching that new HBO show with The Weeknd. Okay, like 21 Savage and Drake are like the main rappers, and you've got like Sweetie and Ice Spice, who are, they're not like rapping about anything that's like progressive. It's not just like the black girls who are like, I mean, maybe this is the one video that we saw where they are like yelling at an Asian family like go back home or whatever. But to be clear, the anti-Asian sentiment is not just, so then Matt Walsh goes on to cite all these statistics about violence cases that have been reported against Asian families and how it's predominantly the crimes are done by black people. I think that's interesting. I don't know. I don't really have a reason. I would say some of it could be a poverty thing where people are trying to steal things like cell phones, and there's just a stereotype that Asian people have cell phones, and so they're trying to like steal their cell phone. If I had to make some sense of it, I would probably guess that. Otherwise, like I actually don't really know. I couldn't explain that because you'd also have to just think about a real reality where like Asian communities, Asian people and black people aren't really in community at all. Like they don't even live in the same places basically at all. So I don't, and they don't like really work together at all. They don't, they don't even like listen to similar music, I don't think. So when would they even have an opportunity to like, I haven't seen it be a thing where like groups of black teenagers are going into Asian communities and just like robbing them. Like I've never heard of that. If someone else has, put it in the description box. I don't know. Like, but somewhere on the subway, right? That's like a public space. Um, I think some things you have to like chalk up to like it just can't all be the responsibility of the like we'll call the youth, right? Especially like the teenagers. Like everyone fucking knows how awful teenage years are. Like they're just awful for like everybody, for there's like a million different reasons why. But basically when you're like a teenager, bro, you just don't know shit yet. You're just so consumed with like like the way that your group of peers sees the world, and you guys just have your own thing, and whatever the music is, or the like the snack, the space, if it's like the park or the movie theater or the bus terminal, like wherever the place is, that's where you go and you like hang out, and then you talk to the other people, or maybe it could be an activity, the boys and girls club or the library, like wherever your little space is as a teen person. um all the little teen people have their like ideas that are wrong really about society, because like they don't know shit. But for little black girls, and I feel like I've seen it for a while, there's just no mentorship or guidance. um and like little black girls, it will just never happen where like they could realistically look up to like a Taylor Swift alone, and be like, yes, my experience will be like that. Like, no, it definitely will not in most shapes or forms. But at the same time, don't get me wrong, you can definitely be like a black girl who's like a consumer of Taylor Swift's music. That's totally a thing. That's actually kind of cool. um yeah, I don't know. It really did feel like watching that video of what happened on the train, like that family handled that with a lot of grace. But so some things are strange, like arguing to have a father and a mother. Yeah, if to have anyone basically going back and forth yelling with a teenager is fucking weird. um if there's a case where there's like a young person and the young person starts like saying some awkward shit, I would definitely encourage any person to try and like um explain to the young person why they're like right or wrong, or just kind of like talk it through. But it does seem like in this case someone was pushed, or like some sort of violent act happened. I don't actually think it was that violent. I think she just pushed someone, or I don't know. I didn't watch the whole video. Let me like not say, it could have been worse. I'm not positive about this. But also I don't like going down the path where we're trying to make it seem like, oh, the little black girls are more violent than the others, because that's also bullshit. And if you're like a grown ass man who can't figure out how to just walk away from some teenagers on a train, I've got to say, then you also have a problem. Like, it's a big world. You're a grown ass man. If some teenagers, because I have had personal situations where I have confronted groups of teenagers and I've said something, and sometimes they just won't shut the fuck up. You can just walk away. Walking away is a real thing. Like, usually they do something, they'll just like laugh or make a joke, and then they just keep going about their, have enough emotional intelligence, just like social intelligence, to kind of figure out how to navigate that. So it did feel, it was strange for him to like you're not changing the political ideology of some like 17-year-old kid on a train. And especially if his family was in an unsafe situation. Some things just don't actually make sense. Like, I don't actually see in any world where like a grown man is more unsafe than a 17-year-old, or like a 16-year-old kid, because some of these the girls were small. They weren't like obese teenagers. They looked like they were like 110 pounds or something. Like, I'm just, this is like a full grown man. I mean, he was Asian, so maybe he was short, but like he was still like a grown up male. um yeah, I don't know. Urban teenagers are mean. They like, they say all type of crazy shit, and we all have to deal with it. It sucks. Like, I have to deal with it too. They make all kind of like insensitive jokes. They'll talk about your sneakers or something. They will play their Ice Spice music so loud that you fucking hate it. But shit, like, I don't know. We all have to. Nah, if that Asian family was harassed, I do feel bad. I don't know if that particular incident is like representative of most of the crime that's happening as like a hate crime though, because I have seen actual incidences of like videos that do depict like anti-Asian hate, and it's kind of like it's mostly males who are coming up to Asian women and they just like punch them or something, or just like hit them, be like "fuck you, Asian person." It's like damn, like it's not funny at all. But it also those things keep happening, and I wonder like what the questions that I have are more so like if I were an Asian person, I'm just saying if I were an Asian person, I would really ask myself like why would you want to live in a society where this keeps happening? Cuz it does feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse. Like I see it, the crime instances are actually going up. But also like so it's never going to be a fat thing where like they just become more of them or something, and so then they can just like take over America like that won't happen. So it's like they're kind of it's kind of the same instance with I just wonder for really all the immigrants. I really honestly have a question of like why they keep picking here, not to be funny or like just overly like anti-American, but like seriously, like okay, so let's say like shit like this happens, right? Like so these like urban black teenagers are here. They're going to be riding trains. Like it's not like they're going to stop riding trains. Like society is never going to help black teens be upwardly mobile to become like all of them to become doctors or anything. They're going to keep making like power urban trash TV shows that keep these kids riding the trains. So either like all the yuppie Asian people who moved to the city are now never gonna ride the train. Is that supposed to be like the solution? Like okay, so then we'll just never ride the trains anymore. Like okay, so then they also I guess they'll never go to any concerts with like black artists or something, or like what or whatever the thing is. Like oh the black kids will never go to the Latin artists concerts. Maybe we'll all just segregate. We'll all just go back to our respective corners of like the society and like life, which is also kind of what I feel like I've been promoting anyway. I do think the separation would like help so many things. And I feel like America, especially like these people who like the Asian people who seem to be like supportive of like or who see this as like a growing problem and are solution based. I think it might be really like a really good idea to push for reparative justice that includes relocation to black parts of Africa. Because then, not even to be like funny, but in a very realistic way, if your idea is to like create an America that is more habitable for like you and like your family, and you also want to get rid of like the urban black people who like don't want to live amongst you in peace, why don't you like push for policies and reparative justice or reparations that helps them go back to black Africa where they were stolen from? Like not even in a joking way. Like that is actually a very real solution, and I got to be honest, probably the only solution. This is why so many of us have been talking about it for so long. Affirmative action is like a band-aid that doesn't really work. Affirmative action, and it's like didn't we just cancel it anyway? The whole point of affirmative action was to say like we want to live together in the country. Like we're going to share the country. But I feel like we've actually decided we're not going to share the country. So, I think we should just all move to like give back what was stolen, right? Like I know a lot of shit has happened since then, but like I think that black Americans deserve a like just a lump sum of money that would help them start a life back in Africa where they are from and they belong, Okay, and then they can just get on a plane and peacefully exit. Okay. Like there's no need to like harbor people here to try to integrate in a society in which, first of all, it's very clear from that incident they don't want to be here. And if that happened to you, you probably don't want them here either. So why don't we all have peace and we all have like clarity and just like move this forward? But seriously, like let's push it forward. Like let's go. Let's go. I mean, and the cold part about it is I feel like I'm having to do this for myself. Like I'm literally funding my own exit to Africa, but it feels unfair. Like why should I have to pay for this myself? I don't think I should. I'm sorry, I just don't. Like I don't. So, yeah.